Hello. How are we today, folks? I wore a black shirt so I don't blend into the whiteboard as much as I did yesterday. Tired. What? Got a little burn from yesterday too. That was nice. Oh, Morgan's tired too. What time are you guys going to bed at? Hi, Christiana. Hi, Eunice. I got another tricky one for you today, Eunice, at the end. Seen a couple join the whiteboard. That's good. If you haven't done that yet, click that link. It's nice for me to see you guys working again. That's my favorite part. Oh, 10. That's 4 a.m. Goodness gracious, Brady. You guys get outside yesterday and Monday? It's awesome outside. Good. Awesome. Wash the car as rollerbladed. Nice. Alexa, you're getting put to work. Paint the deck. Your parents can get you to do all their little dirty jobs for them now. Rode my bike and found my old skateboard. Sweet, Brandon. That's cool. Ride bikes. I need to buy a bike. I'm due for, I don't have one right now, so got to look around for one. Give it just a couple minutes here and then we'll get rolling. Oh, happy birthday, Bree. Let me see if I remember how to play Happy Birthday. Can't remember, but Mr. Avocado's back. Figure out again later, Bree, and I'll sing you happy birthday next time. Caitlin, yeah, me too. Yesterday afternoon, you can see I'm a little bit red right here, and like my arms. Took like no time at all because I haven't seen the sun forever, but time for sunscreen, I suppose. Probably when you're painting the deck, Brady. What'd you make, Brandon, for dinner? Okay, it's time to rock and roll. Chicken. Oh, nice. Pizza. Perfect. Okay, so today we're just going to pick up where we left off yesterday. I think we had some good traction with the one-step problems, and now we're going to continue to put things together. And I'm just going to make questions that are a little trickier and a little bit more challenging to get some practice. And then later this week, tomorrow, Friday, you're going to show me that you can do some two-step problems. So I'm just going to write one. I'll write one on my whiteboard on the website. If you haven't looked there on my whiteboard, there's a couple warm-up questions. So we're going to start with those. So I'll write them up here as well, and then we'll walk through them. I wrote two little steps up here. One says solve and two says check. So the habit that we're going to get into right now is solving and then checking our work, because it's really important to go back and see, does my answer fit with the question, and did I get that right? So the first warm-up question here is on my whiteboard as well. It says 2x plus 4 is equal to -2. So give that one a shot on your whiteboards. I'll wait for a couple minutes so you have a chance to try it out. And I see a lot of you have already started with that one, which is fantastic. I can see you guys up on my TV, so keep plugging away there. Throwing in some negatives today, some negative numbers, because they are the ones that usually throw students off. So we'll practice with the negatives for sure. Yeah, Chris, you're off to a good start. You just need to do one more step there. Nice. Okay, about 30 more seconds. Just keep working on your whiteboards. That's great to see. There's a lot of little finicky integer stuff here. So let's work through this together, and then you can kind of double check your work or work with me as I go. So remember, with two-step algebra, we're working backwards right now. So we're isolating the variable. We're trying to get anything that's attached to the x by itself on the same side. And so we got to get rid of this +4. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides first. And I'm left with 2x. These cancel each other out. Equals -2 minus 4. So here's one of those annoying integer problems. If we have -2 and we're subtracting 4, we're going to end up at -6. And now we have this little multiplication statement. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get rid of this 2 here. And now we are left with x is equal to -6 divided by a +2. Okay, some of you stopped at this step. You just said 2x is equal to -6. We got to get it down to just 1x. Now, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we're left with x is equal to -3. So that's step one, is the solving portion. Step two is the checking portion. So the checking portion, what I like to do, and you can check this however you want, but I like to just rewrite the equation with my answer in there in brackets instead of my variable, and then see if it works out. So I would write down 2, and instead of x, I would substitute in -3, and add 4 to equal -2. Now, when we're solving algebra, we're working reverse BEDMAS, but when we're checking it, we're working in BEDMAS. So I need to multiply 2 by -3 first to get -6. And -6 plus 4 is equal to a -2, because I have -6 and I add 4. So if my left and my right side are equal to each other, I can give myself a check mark because I've done that question perfectly. Okay. A lot of you on your whiteboards did that as well. That's amazing. Couple people had -6 divided by 2 as a +3. So if you went back and checked that, you would have gotten a +6 here. And 6 plus 4 doesn't equal -2. So you could have gone down and checked that, and then you could have reversed it. Good, Brandon? Good. Okay, so I will erase your whiteboards, and then, some of you have been practicing the second one. So I'll just wait on that. You can erase yours, or I can erase them too if you need me to. But I'm going to put up the second warm-up question here, which is -4x plus 2 is equal to 14. I know I'm probably moving a little bit quick, but you can always go and rewatch sections of this video when I'm finished. You can replay it, so you can always go back and practice, which is really good to do. So number 2 is -4x plus 2 equals 14. Okay, so go ahead and try that one out on your whiteboards there. And I will do it with you guys in a minute. Alexa, I can't see anything on the teacher whiteboard. Oh, interesting. Well, if you can't see the teacher whiteboard, my equation is the same here as it is on that. So just use the screen here for that purpose. Nice. I'm seeing some really good things happening here. I'm seeing one little mistake that's showing up in a few of your whiteboards, but I will address that here really quickly. So let's give it a shot. So remember, first step is we're trying to get rid of this 2. Okay, we're seeing what is not part of the variable here, and we have just the integer over here too. So I'm going to do the opposite, subtract 2 from both sides, and I'm left with -4x is equal to 14 minus 2, which is 12. Okay, this step was done really well by almost everybody here, so that's great. Now, the next step is to get the x by itself. If I cover up the x, it'll show me that what is something we call the coefficient or whatever we have with the x, and that is -4. So we have to divide by all of that, which means we have to divide by -4. And the mistake I was seeing is a lot of you are just dividing by 4, but we need to make sure that we take the negative with us because that is a -4. What I do to one side, I do to the other. These now cancel out because -4 divided by -4 is 1, which is the goal. So we have an x by itself. We're happy. 12 divided by -4, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So we're left with x is equal to -3. Now, once again, we can quickly check that. -4 times -3 plus 2 is equal to 14. A negative times a negative is a positive. So positive 12 plus 2. Does 12 plus 2 equal 14? Absolutely. We've done that question correctly. Okay, lots of you got that, which is fantastic. And the nicest thing is to check that. Then I know, oh, I've done the question right. I have. There's no way that it's incorrect. Okay, we're going to move on here. So the next one, we'll throw in some division there. I'll look for one right here. Okay. So here is the next question. We're going to go 4 is equal to x over 2 minus 10. So what I'm going to try to do here is just to give you a couple of different examples of what you might see, because if I give you the same example over and over, then when things get a little bit different or tweak it a little bit, then we're confused. So what did I do here? I just moved the variable to the other side of the equation. Now, think back to one of my tips and tricks videos. This is a team. So, you know, the Oilers versus the Flames. They switch sides after the first period. I can always rewrite this question as x over 2 minus 10 is equal to 4. Okay, these two questions are exactly the same to start. We've just taken this part of the equation and moved it over and switched sides. We didn't change the equation at all. We've just switched sides. Okay, so if you prefer to work with the variable on the left side, like myself, I would rewrite it here, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. So rewrite this however you'd like. Pick one. These are your two options, option A and option B, and solve that question on your whiteboard. So 4 minus x over 2, or sorry, 4 is equal to x over 2 minus 10, and x over 2 minus 10 is equal to 4. Okay, give those a shot. Couple more seconds here. Okay, so I'm just going to solve one of these. If you rewrote it like I did option B, then it would just be the exact same thing, but just on opposite sides of the equation. So here we need to isolate the variable, get rid of everything that's not included in the same fraction here as the x is. So my first step is adding 10 to both sides. So I'm left with 4 plus 10 is 14 is equal to x over 2. Those are canceled. My next step is to get the x by itself. This is a division statement, which means I have to multiply this whole thing by 2. So if I multiply this side by 2, I need to multiply this by 2. And 14 times 2 happens to be 28 is equal to, x. Now let's see if it plays out if I check it. 4 is equal to 28 divided by 2 minus 10. 4 is equal to 28 divided by 2 is 14 minus 10. 4 is equal to 4. We're good to go. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of good things on your whiteboards. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's keep on going up the ladder here. I'll pick one that's a little bit more challenging yet, hopefully. Ooh, here we go. Negative x over 6 minus 1 equals negative 7. So we are going to get a little bit more complicated. I want to see you guys attempt this question and see if you can figure out what we're doing with all these subtraction negative signs. Okay, so redo this one on your whiteboards. It's a little bit tricky, hopefully, and a little bit of a challenge. So negative x over 6 minus 1 is equal to negative 7. Once you get an answer, check it to see if it works. I'm seeing two major answers, negative 36 and positive 36. Hi, Tatum. And we'll discuss really quickly which one of these is correct and why it works like that. So let's rock and roll here. First step is we say, this is the section with the variable. We want to get rid of everything but that. So this -1. And we're really good at getting this first step down pat. So I need to do the opposite, add 1 to both sides. And I'm left with -x/6 is equal to -7 plus 1, which is -6. Okay. First step, we've been doing pretty well. Now, there is now the second step. And this is kind of a 3-step problem. It's kind of a little bit of a tricky one. I need to multiply by this denominator, so I can multiply both sides by 6 here. What that does is it eliminates the denominator here, but it gives us -x, that's what's left over, is equal to -6 times 6, which is -36. Now, this is an answer that many of you have arrived at. -x is equal to -36. The problem is we want x to be just by itself with no negative sign attached. If we have a negative sign, there's a sneaky little 1 in there. So -1x. We want to get rid of that as well. So how do we do this now? If I just gave you a 1-step problem that said -1x is equal to -36, I would have to divide by -1, divide by -1. So whenever you run into a situation where it's a -x equals a -36, what you do is just swap the signs, because we are actually dividing that -1 out of the question, which is a little bit tricky, but that cancels this out, and x is equal to +36. Now you'll find that if you plugged in a -36 up top here, then a negative makes it a positive. So let's check our answer, and let's put it back in. Instead of x, we're putting 36. So we have -36 divided by 6, which is -6 minus 1 equals -7. -6 minus 1 is -7. We're good. So that is all of a sudden 1 step trickier. We have to be careful with subtraction and negative signs because they always throw us off. But the biggest tip for a question like this is that -x, if you ever have a -x, we have to understand that there's a sneaky little 1 in there. So it's actually -1x. But we don't write that in there typically. Okay, so that was a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to do another one that's a little bit challenging. See if you can track with this. So erase this board. That one might be one that you go back and rewatch after this, just to see if you could do it a second time. Oh my goodness, here we go. This will throw you for a loop maybe. -x divided by -8 plus 1 is equal to 4. Okay, another challenge question, another challenging one with these negatives. Same concept, so use what you know, use what we've learned in the tips and tricks video, and see if you can battle through this question here. Looking outside right now, it's raining. Haven't seen that for a long time. Perfect time to get your school work done. Remember, we don't want to end up with negative x equals. We want to end up with positive x. Yeah, this is another little tricky one, so we're going to just walk through it here. Most of you are getting this first step, which is amazing. So same thing, isolate the variable, get rid of this 1, subtract 1 from both sides. I'm left with negative x over negative 8 is equal to 4 minus 1, which is 3. Okay, we're getting to this stage. Now, we can follow the next rule where we just multiply by a negative 8. So I'm going to multiply this by a negative 8, and the denominators are going to cancel each other out, and we're going to be left with what's on top. Negative x is equal to 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. Okay? Remember, we don't want there to be a negative x as a final answer. We want it to be a positive or just x. Okay, x can be a negative number, but we just want it to be x by itself. So there's a sneaky little 1 here again that we just don't write. So we have one more step to get rid of that negative 1, and it's to divide by that negative 1. And we're left with x is equal to a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive, and 24 divided by 1, which is 24. So let's see if it works. So once again, we have a negative. We put in our answer for x. Negative 24 divided by 8 is positive 3. Plus 1. 4 equals 4. We're good to go. So that version is, once again, kind of the trickiest one with when you have these double negatives. There's a little bit of a shortcut that maybe you'll be able to see. Because there are 2 negatives, we could actually get rid of them, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. But we'll leave it at that for now so you can see this process happening. So we're going to end with that. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to put on one more I'm going to put on one more question on the whiteboard to finish off. It's going to be quite a bit of a challenging one, one where you have to kind of add like terms like we talked about in those tips and tricks videos. And if you're interested in a challenge, this is kind of a little bit above and beyond of what you need to be able to do, then try it out. And I'll continue to watch your whiteboards. You can try it on there or email me an answer if you find one. Okay, so we'll wrap it up with that. Morgan, my whiteboard is glitching, so it's lagging. Oh, shoot. Yeah, that is frustrating. Obviously, sometimes with technology, we do get that, but I appreciate it. Even if you're working on a piece of paper with a pencil, that's fantastic just to get the practice in if you are having some difficulties. So let's end off with this. It's going to be a fun one. Once again, if you feel like a challenge, complete this. If you're mathed out for the day, enjoy the rain. Plus 4x minus 1 plus x over 2 is equal to 2x. Oh, yeah. Look at that. 2x plus 4x minus 1 plus x over 2 equals 2x plus 6 plus x over 1. There is your challenge. I'm going to stop this video. And if you feel like grinding it out and seeing if you can figure it out, remember, just put it back into x when you've had an answer. And if this side equals that side, then you correctly solved it. So have some fun with that if you so choose for an extension. Otherwise, have a great Wednesday, and we'll catch up soon. See you later.